Good morning, YouTubers, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Today we're continuing with the planking the HMS Bounty, and the first step in this next board is we got the end of it soaked a little bit, some water, and then we're gonna heat bend this corner. We got to get that thing to wrap around there, and we'll cut it to fit that angle. We got our iron heating up. So one thing I want to do is trim this down a little bit. So I'm just going to take might be easier, just to grind some off of that edge. Get this wet again. We already know it's quite a turn around that corner, and the turn is mostly at the very end of the board here. I'm not putting real hard pressure on it, but enough to force it down into that profile in there. Oh, see, that's what happens when you get too rowdy. That actually broke. So we know this got a pretty good angle on it. So we'll just cut that. Cut that broken part off. We'll give this some more. Get this wet again. Did it again. Casualty of war. Sometimes when you break it, you can salvage it, but this time that crack is going to show at an angle that we don't like, so we do have a good taper left on there. I'm cutting that little 45, so this will fit up in there. I'll probably have to cut a little more off of it, but for now, let's just try to get that 90 or that bend in there. And a hard bend it is. The iron's heated up pretty hot now. Depends on the piece of wood you pick. Sometimes it goes fairly smoothly, and other times you end up with this kind of breaking problem. A little bit that we're breaking off there shouldn't hurt us too much because we got quite a bit sticking out. My camera keeps falling down here. We got quite a bit sticking out that we're going to cut off anyway on the other end. So we just want to try to keep heating this good. I'm putting it over here because I know the angle is really tight. Ooh. I pushed a little bit too hard, didn't I? We might have to start over with a new piece. If you do crack it like that, and it's not showing a bunch of spurs and stuff, You can put some glue in that crack, let it cure, and that'll repair the crack. We're just trying to get this angle to create a good profile fit here. It is really close, but we're not touching the wood frame behind there in that first frame member. So it looks like we still got enough stick left here. Yes, to get to the other end and not lose too much material that we can't use it. See, what I'm trying to do here is open that arc back up a little bit. To see how much I'm a 1/4 inch away from that frame. Which almost wants me to come in see if I come in like this, it's way under. This other one I put on is too far away from it too, which might be a problem. I am going to sand this off, and I do have some walnut colored wood putty that I can stick in there after I sand and get these corners and the edges sticking out and get those smooth. Use wood putty to fill in. But this is not looking like it's going to work real good here. And I could just put the board on like that and then add some wood putty later on. After we sand that corner off, we probably won't have to add any, but so we do need a little twist in it. That feels better there, just doing that little twist. Now we need a little bend in this area. So I'm going to get it wet again. A little moisture on there. So we want to cut a little more off of this angle, which I can do just by sanding a little more angle into this. So we want to put a little bend right in there. Where that one frame was, it brings us around to the almost flat side of the ship. You can see that profile. That's better. Now this is a little too much here. And that's where we'll put some glue back in that spot where it cracked. We want this to kick up a little bit, so because it's still got moisture in the wood fibers, I can do a lot of that by hand. That looks pretty good there. So now we'll move to the other end and just place holding this here, get an idea where we want to start bending the other end at. And it looks like right around here we're going to start bending, and then aggressively in this area here. So I'll put a little mark. Actually, it'll be on this side because I won't be able to see that side when I'm in the bender. A little mark there. And then more of aggressive bending over here. We get that wet. Sort of lost my mark when I got it wet. So I'm going to start right in this area here where my finger is. A little gradual bend there. And we'll start feeding the material back. And the more we feed it back, the more we're going to push on it. Try not to push too hard. Now we're getting into the area where the aggressive bend is. We're almost matching the profile of the bender. And we're almost at 90 degrees. A lot of this is trial and error. You just gotta trying and keep making errors. So it did crack right there, but I think that's going to be past our corner. So we'll lay this side in. We're close to where it's going to go. Hold it down. Slide it along here. And you can see we've got the bend in the right spot, but it's curling down. We want it to curl up. So I'm going to get it wet again, and then while it's wet, I got a little thing of water over here with a paintbrush. While it's wet, I'm actually going to twist it by hand to that up position. And then I'm pushing back on that spot that broke. We'll do another test fit. There. See how it laid right underneath the other rail? We just want to keep forcing that twist so the bottom part of this board will lay down on that frame member. Oh, that's a pretty bad break there. Why did I do that? Test fit again. Yeah, now our twist is going the other way, which is good. So, where that break is, we're going to go ahead and get the glue. 9 times out of 10 you can salvage. My glue's got crap in the head. We might be able to salvage that, we might not. It's going to be iffy. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna be able to salvage that. And it will glue together, but by the time we put the force on it and pin and all here, it may not stay together. So using the logic, I want to try to make these complete pieces all the way across. And I think we can, but because that is at the point where it's just past that frame member, and it broke off pretty much all the way, I'm going to save this board for somewhere else. Start over again. It was a pretty brittle board, as we have found out. So I'm going to try this again, and I'll get back with you if I'm successful. Okay, we did it with the second board. We got it on there. Those clamps are blocking the view a little bit, but second board went on a little easier than the first. Nice and tight fit. So I think the next one, I'm going to come up from underneath here, and then fill in with some wedges as we get closer to the top. We got to attempt to wrap one more, but I just got to get a feeling for how they want to lay. But we did get that one on without any damage. So I got these at Harbor Freight. They're like $1 something a piece, so they're pretty applicable for this application. They're a lot easier to use than the bigger ones, and they seem to grip pretty good. So I'm going to go with one more and see if I have to add some wedges here. Almost want to start flat in there and then come down, and to bring pieces in to butt to it. See if that'll work better. The front's not a problem like the back is. So that's what I'm going to prep for next. And those of you who haven't seen the past videos, this is the San Juan we finished at the end of the year. And for Christmas we started the HMS Bounty. That took a couple years, but you know, it wasn't until the last 6 months where I was pretty much working steady on it. So you could say if you stayed steady on it, you could probably do one in 10 months or a year. Just depends on how much time you're willing to spend each day. And I average about four hours a day, probably 3 days a week. That's why I'm always doing something else too. So one of the things that we have done in the past few weeks is put up this greenhouse, and the bottom here rolls up on both sides so you can get ventilation, and there's screen windows on both ends. And boy, big difference in here. 80, 90 degrees almost. 90 degrees in here. It's real humid. We got a bunch of vegetable seeds coming up. A lot of herbs, flowers, and Point said he was put in the process of putting this tent up. I also went and got a bunch of pallets, and some of the pallets we took apart and built these shelves. Got shelves on both sides, and we built this shelving out here for a potting station, a workstation, and all that's from free pallets, leftover wood I had. So this is 10 feet wide and 20 feet long, which is just barely big enough if you're gonna grow vegetables and survive. But that is one of the projects that I've been doing. I just finished putting up some picture rails in the master bedroom. This to rest pictures on instead of hanging them, and they're in a format where it's all staggered and offset from each other, so it looks pretty good. These are all the drill bits we've broken so far, and this is a cheap screw I tried to drive into some hardwood. Imagine the force on that. It didn't break, but that's a cheap screw. Couldn't handle being twisted. So I'm gonna put another board on and see about this rear end, because that's gonna be a problem if we can't get it figured out. Okay, you can see there we brought a board in. This is the 6th row down. I made up a little template here so I could gauge the boards all the way across, except for when they come into this corner. So we got 6 down everywhere except for the front, and then the back. I think that's gonna help me to better come into this corner. So I think I'm going to bring the next board in on top of this and taper the end and bring it to a point to fit in there. And I was almost thinking of maybe putting some dead wood in there to give me some more body up behind this area. But I think moving forward now, that'll help me with this rear end. So we got that one all pinned and glued, and using this template here, you can see it's a pretty good fit. It's got some scrap pieces glued together with the holder in the back. So I'm going to bring the next board in on top of this one and see how, if we need to put some wood in there or not. We just got to approach this one board at a time until we can, down in here, I don't think it's going to be near as bad because they're going to land on this surface here, and it's already got something there for them to land on. But up here, no. So that's why I'm doing it like this. I'm trying to work out of this corner some wedge-shaped pieces that are on the full length, but on the end of them wedge-shaped, so we can try to fill this without making it look too ugly. So that's the plan. Okay, got the second board on there on top of that one we put down on the 6th row. That went on fairly nicely. You can see where we did end up here. There's this part will get cut off for that keel. But it's going to work out real good in the front. And in the back, I just got to keep adding boards. You can see the next one up. I got something that'll fit in there. Just a regular straight piece. Next one up is going to start going in behind there. So this is where I'm deciding whether or not to add some wood in here, or cut this one off by that nail and make a new one. Make a new one after I sand this second one down a little bit. It's just not near as bad as this one is. So I think I might do that. Cut that one off and make a new one that'll fit lower in that profile, and sand this second one down so I can get the top edge of the new one line up a little better with that opening there. That's not going to fill, and these aren't going to run in there right unless we do something different. Now I guess if I do cut that one off, or just cut it at a taper, wedge shape, and die somewhere around here, and then continue working on this lower level coming up, that might be the best way to do it, yes. Except for the fact that one is going to be short where it's cut now. We may have to do some wood filler in there or something. I think that's the best plan of attack. We'll plan on cutting this taper and dyeing over here somewhere, and then bring new ones in to try to fill this area from the right angle till we meet up with that taper. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 boards to go to fill that void all the way across. So I think that's the best plan, because this is way too far out. And even the next one is too, but I can sand it down, grind it down on the edge, so the edge is closer to that frame back there. So that's the plan. So we cut that taper here, started way up here, tapered that one board all the way till it was gone, and I think I might even cut this one so it comes in straight right here like these are coming in. The next board I'm going to put on the side up here, and then we got 3 more after that. We'll see how this works out when we get to the last board. We might want to cut that little spot away so they come in straight, and they're definitely landed on the frame in that area a lot better after we cut this one out. And I went ahead and used the drum oil with the sanding wheel here and cleaned that corner up where it was all bumpy, sticking out and around and all the way down to here. Got all that cleaned up pretty good. So other than taking this out right in there, I think we're going to be much better off coming in this way instead of trying to bring them around. So where that's coming around, we make that straight, coming dead into this last plank going underneath here. So I think we're going to be okay now. We got that cut out of there, and everything's going to be touching the frame members, which is the main thing. Follow that profile of the frame. So I'll get some more boards on, and another week is upon us. We didn't make very much progress this week, but we did eliminate a problem. So thanks for watching.